Okay, so basic terms in general advertising and terminologies. Okay, so this is a list of basically some things here are metrics, some things here are kind of terminology, some things here are just lingo, but this is very, very important to kind of understand going into digital marketing, working in a digital marketing agency, or working, as a small business owner, doing your own thing, maybe freelancing for, for someone else. So we're just going to go right straight into it. I'm just going to go into things that I think that are just really important within this course. If you are seeing something here that, I'm not covering, just make sure to Google it, because covering all this stuff will just take months. So I'm just going to go into important things here. Okay, so I'm going to start with LTV, because LTV is absolutely crucial to understand. So it stands for lifetime value. So an example of lifetime value would be, let's say, go to the plumber example again. So you would spend like $100 in advertising to get one client, let's say, to fix your pipe. All right. So that you would spend $100, right? But that client is so happy with your services as a plumber that he actually tells his friends and tells his family about your services, right? And what ends up happening is, instead of just one client that you paid $100 for, and let's say you made $300 off of, right, of profit, 2 or 3 of his family members and friends end up calling you because they've heard how much of a great job you've done. Okay, so that $300 profit is actually really $900, right? So 3, 6, 9. So overall, 3 people from one ad came to actually buy your services as a plumber, and each, let's say, average calculator here. Each job was about $300, and then you had one person, through an advertisement, and then his family and friends. So that's overall 3 people. So your overall lifetime value for a single person would be 3. Okay, but it's a very important concept to understand. Why is this a very important concept to understand? Because a lot of advertisers, or a lot of people who advertise, they don't really understand the value of digital advertising in terms of the long-term scope of things, okay? A lot of the times people just look at, okay, I got a conversion, I got this much money out of it, I spent this much money, and that's pretty much it. You know what? I'm thinking it's not really that much, it's not really worth it for me to continue advertising, because it's just not worth it. I spent $1,000 and only made like $2,000, whatever. But they don't take into account, they don't understand the value of the leads themselves. If you did do a good job, or even a mediocre job, they're actually gonna, it's gonna increase your lifetime value if you continue to run these ads. And basically, these clients that you've worked with, they're gonna talk, and they're gonna increase your overall lifetime value, right? So it's not really a $2,000 profit on average, and it does depend on the industry, and you're going to have to do your own research here. But on average, the average lifetime value is about 2.5 or 3% times the actual original profit off the ad, okay? So it's a very important kind of thing to understand, lifetime value, okay? Keyword search query. Okay, unique selling point. Add creative and unique selling point. Very crucial to understand what unique selling point is, okay, within our course. Unique selling point is basically, or USP, is the kind of attributes or elements within your service that differentiates you from other people, okay? So plumber, for example, a unique selling point for a plumber would be fast quote, free estimate, all the kind of things that differentiate you from your competitor. So if it's a physical store, for example, free parking, 30 years experience, satisfaction guaranteed, all these kind of things that separate you out, that people want to that's going to help them buy. It's your unique selling point. It's something that your competitors don't have. And a lot of people, a side note, a lot of people don't really emphasize their unique selling point as much as they should. Okay. A lot of people think that people kind of understand the unique selling point. A lot of business owners don't actually take the time to kind of ask themselves what their unique selling points are. So it's a very crucial and important step to actually creating ads, is understanding the unique selling points. Right? If you do not know your unique selling points, it's not the best thing to do. It's not to run ads without you knowing what separates you from your competitors is not the best idea. You could start, but it's very important to actually understand what your unique selling point is. Okay, landing page, we know what that is. Landing page is just the first page that a user lands on through an ad or through anything else. It's just the first page that a user sees. Okay, A/B testing. This is kind of a terminology that's it's basically, so let's go back to the landing page example. Or the ad, okay, the unique selling point. So basically, an A/B test would be considered like, okay, let's run this ad for 1 month with 3 unique selling points. All right, free parking, free estimates, fast quote. And then we're going to run it in the next month, all right, to the same set of people. So we have 100 people seeing this ad, and we have 100 people seeing the second ad. The 3 unique selling points we're going to change. We're not going to do free parking, free estimate, and fast quote. We're going to do loyalty, 30 years experience, etc., etc. Within these 2 sets of ads, which one is converting better? Okay, so that would be considered an A/B test of a unique selling point. You could do A/B tests for a landing page design, right? So if the call to action button is red, what happens if we change it to blue? That would be an A/B test. So let's A/B test to 1,000 clicks for a call to action button that's blue, or a banner that's blue, and 1,000 clicks or 1,000 users for a banner that's red, right? Which one converts better? A/B testing is an absolutely crucial part of a scientific approach to digital marketing. Okay, you have to constantly A/B test your ads, your landing pages, and your copy, as well as your keywords, just to see what works out the best. Because, yeah, if that's the scientific approach to things. So A/B testing. Okay, frequency capping. So this basically means how often a person saw your ad. So you could actually, the frequency, oh, my bad. So let's say you're running a YouTube ad, okay? YouTube ad is for a plumber. So you could set the frequency of how many unique people actually saw your ad, right? So you could tell YouTube, listen, I want 1 person. You could cap it. I want 1 user, or Joe Doe. I want him to see my ad top 3 times, right? Because we don't want him to have ad fatigue, which is another very important terminal or kind of phrase, ad fatigue. We could frequency cap per user, all right, per IP address. We could tell YouTube, listen, we want we want the user to see the ads 3 times at most, because we don't want to piss them off, right? A lot of companies don't do this actually. So frequency is how often a user sees your ad, okay? And in our kind of space, we use frequency in terms of capping 90% of the time. We don't want, us professional digital marketers, we don't want to bombard our audience with the same ad over and over and over and over again, because that's, unless you do want to do that. But a lot of the times it just doesn't, it doesn't settle well with people. So, you could, frequency cap it to 2 times, the person can say it 2, 3 times, 4 times. So that's what frequency capping is. Geo-targeting, you could set, these are all settings. This is a setting actually, geo-targeting specifically. So let's say there's a convention in Las Vegas, and it's a big poker convention, I don't know. And you want to target specifically just that convention center, right? So you could actually set a radius to target just that location center, that 1 mile radius within that convention center. So people within that convention center, they open up their phone, they open up YouTube, they open up Gmail, they open up whatever, and then they see your ad. Okay, so that's just an advertising that's based on geolocation. That was just one example, the convention center. But geo-targeting could also mean whatever. Someone's in a specific area and he wants to target just that radius, 20-mile radius, 5-mile radius of wherever he wants. That just means that advertisement is very specific to that geolocation, okay? Contextual advertising, we won't go into right now. It's a little complicated. Brand awareness, remarketing. Remarketing is very crucial to understand, okay? So remarketing is basically a method within digital marketing, or really within marketing in general, of kind of chasing your prospect or kind of re-engaging your user or your, profile or your audience basically with your ad, right? So in practical terms, what remarketing is when a person goes into your website and there's a cookie, right? We've went over what a cookie is. Basically, you would want to remarket or kind of serve the same kind of ad, even if the user didn't do what you wanted him to do within your website. So let's say you're a plumber, he goes into the plumbing website, whatever, I'll just look for another plumber, whatever it is. So remarketing is basically closes your website, goes to YouTube, goes to whatever other website, excuse me, and then he sees your banner, okay? Now, remarketing is a huge thing, okay? It increases conversion rate. That's really the objective of remarketing. It increases your branding, and it's basically kind of a way for you to chase your client until you do what you want them to do, or, so to speak, right? Not like literally chase them, digitally chase them. Obviously you want to use this tool with caution. You don't want to remarket to just anyone. There's a lot of specifics and segmentations and stuff you could do with remarketing. It's a whole thing. There are whole agencies that are just focused on remarketing. There are tactics for remarketing. You could remarket to people who just come through paid advertisements, or people who just come through organic search, or you could remarket to whatever, people who just come through Facebook. It depends on your business goals, right? But remarketing is basically, the basic definition of it is just chasing, it's showing your banner ad, okay? Or your ad to the people who were on your website or app, okay? Going forward, key performance indicator. Basically KPI is what you're going to hear a lot in the agency space. So KPI means it's basically a metric that talks about your objectives. Okay, so what's your KPI? What's your key performance indicator? So the plumber's KPI, for example, he wants phone calls, he wants conversions, okay, and he wants clicks, and he wants his average CPC to be as low as possible, and he wants his CTR to be as high as possible, and he wants his quality score to be as high as possible. So those are all KPIs, right? It's very important to kind of understand when setting KPIs. This is a side note or kind of a tip. When kind of understanding what your KPI is, it's very, very important to understand actually what's manageable and what's worth the time of the advertiser, right? I don't want my KPI to be, my happiness or whatever, the overall, whatever, irrelevant things to marketing. You want very kind of specific goals within your KPI. So the plumber's KPI is number of phone calls, cost per conversion, okay? He or she wants as many phone calls as possible with the lowest amount of cost per conversion as possible. Those are your key performance indicators. If you do well, if you succeed well in this, then your campaign's going well, okay? It's very important to set the expectations within KPIs before running and advertising campaigns, okay? Okay, so another example for LSI would be, let's say, automobile, engine, road, tires, vehicles, all would be under the word like automobile, right? So they're all variant keywords of basically the same subject. Okay, so that's what LSI means. So just moving forward here. Okay. LSI, UA, user acquisition. All right. So next up in our kind of terms here is UA. So user acquisition is kind of a term that's passed around a lot. A lot of the Google Analytics tags or tags you're going to have to do in the future are UA based. Let's say your Google Analytics tag says UA number. That stands for user acquisition, or basically the pathways of how the user arrived. Okay. So that's what basically it stands for. That's what it stands for basically, as UA. E-com stands for e-commerce. Sales online. Amazon is a good example of e-commerce. Shopify stores, e-commerce. Lead gen stands for lead generation. That would be anyone who needs leads. So leads are actually like sales, kind of before sales. So you would need leads to actually create sales within so think plumbers, handymen, home services, B2B, anyone who needs a service really is based on leads. A good example of that would also be whatever a computer repair shop would need leads. Anyone who is actually advertising a service that you would need like a phone call for to receive, or a lead form, someone that's actually interested in that service is actually a lead. So within our industry, there are kind of two main differences there within lead generation and within e-com. These are two kind of separate methods of advertising. They're kind of similar in a lot of ways, but the objectives are different. The CPCs are different. Cost per click. The cost per acquisition is different. The remarketing is different. It's very different because the objectives are different. Okay, so we're going to go through that soon. Okay, pixel/tracking code. This goes into the remarketing term that I explained before. So pixel is basically a website code, or a code, advertising code from, let's say, Facebook or Google. They usually give you a pixel, which is a easier kind of word than tracking code. It's basically a snippet of code that you put in your website. And then once you put in your website, you actually could track people. You actually capture their cookie, and then you could actually, constantly remarket to them and, kind of capture that audience. So that's what a pixel is within our kind of space. It's a tracking code or a tracking snippet or a code snippet of an advertising platform, basically. Okay. So copy stands for advertising copy. So with search ads, for example, you would have headline 1, headline 2, headline 3, description. So, when someone says, I'm going to work on your copy, they basically means I'm going to work on your advertising words, like sentences, words, call to actions, all these kinds of things that have to actually do with the actual text of your advertising copy. Okay, native advertising. It's not super important to know right now. But native advertising is basically advertising platforms that that blend in well within like regular content. So, for example, news websites. News websites have like articles that have to do with current events, for example, and then you would also see like, a lot of the times you would see this, like, say, in CNN or something, you would see news articles, and then right next to it, you would see top 10 tips to lose weight, blah, 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 like disguised as an article next to it. That would be a native advertising platform because it looks like it's a news article, Obviously, it's an ad, right? But that would be called native advertising. All right. And native advertising platforms, the most popular ones are Taboola, Outbrain. Um, that's pretty much the famous ones. There's maybe a few other ones, but well-known ones, yeah, that would be Taboola and Outbrain. The way they kind of their advertising platforms is based on CPC, just like Google Ads. So, and then the last kind of terminology that's very, very important to understand, excuse me, is funnel. Funnel is used a lot in digital marketing. A funnel is basically a kind of a cone-shaped. I'm sure everyone has seen what a funnel is, right? A funnel is basically an awareness to consideration to conversion. So when someone in the digital marketing space says, low in the funnel, high in the funnel, mid funnel, basically what they're talking about is when a user is in the beginning of their buyer journey for your product or service. Okay. So, so consideration. So someone's looking for a plumber. They're considering a plumber, so they're seeing your ad. That's consideration. Then, then awareness. He's aware of your ad. And then he clicks it, and, that's engagement. And then he calls you, and that's conversion. All right. And then after the conversion, it's sales and lifetime value and all this other stuff. But I think, side note here, there's a lot of emphasis, this jargon called funnel. It's kind of it's important to understand the fundamentals of what a funnel is, but putting too much emphasis on funnel is not a very healthy approach to things, okay? Because a lot of things have different funnels, and kind of basing your digital marketing reality on a funnel is not going to do you any good, because a plumber has a very short funnel. A B2B company that sells $6 million contracts has a large funnel, or a sales window, or a conversion window, it's called. The term funnel is good to kind of understand, but not to live by, in my opinion, or kind of work by, because a lot of the times it kind of, it takes you away from the actual objective of your campaign. Okay. If you focus too much on awareness of a campaign, you're going to spend a lot of marketing dollars on an awareness of a campaign, and you're going to go, no, but it's top of the funnel, and it's this and it's that. But it's just very important to know that funnel is just something that happens organically. And you, let's say as a PPC marketer, should just focus on, yes, end of the funnel keywords. So plumber and all this other stuff is a good example. But it's very important to understand that it's not a lot of digital marketers throw this stuff around, funnel this, funnel that. It's a good term to kind of understand, but it's not something to live and die by. Okay.